Hello and welcome to State of the Economy, a show that connects you with key policymakers and thinkers. Today we have with us a very special guest, Rahul Khullar, Commerce Secretary, who recently concluded the India-Pakistan Free Trade Agreement, something which had been in a freeze mode for decades. Welcome to our show, Rahul.
Thank you.
Now, tell us how did this agreement come about, free trade agreement, something which was in freeze mode for all these years. How did it gather pace in just 50 weeks and just surprise all of us, a very pleasant surprise? How did this happen?
Well, I think this whole thing started last year when the Prime Minister decided that we should open a trade dialogue, and it was agreed that the Commerce Secretary would go out from here to Islamabad, and I was told to go out and see if we can engage Pakistan on moving things forward on a trade dialogue, if nothing else. Fortunately, that meeting in the end of April last year proved extremely successful, and my counterpart and I, my counterpart's name is Zafar Mahmood, both of us were able to essentially draw up a plan of action on how the two countries should engage. Three things we did which I think are very important. One, we set clear timelines for getting things done.
Okay.
Two, we made it clear that every 6 months the two secretaries would meet to make sure that things were on track. And three, we literally forgot about the entire preceding dialogue, which means we didn't go back into history.
Okay.
It was as if we were sort of starting on a clean slate.
Clean slate. And what about the impediments which had existed earlier? You didn't come across those impediments?
No, I think we did, but we recognized what was practically feasible. For instance, Pakistan has not granted MFN status to India.
For a long time, yeah.
For years together, whereas we have. So now, the bugbear was that when will it do something which it is naturally obliged to do as part of a WTO relationship.
Yeah,
I mean, it's obligations under WTO. And I think the way we approached it, both Zafar and I were seeing it not so much as this thing, but merely trying to normalize the trade relationship.
Trade relations, yeah.
And I think that approach with the reality check that, look, you also have to, you can't do a big bang here, you have to do it in steps. That was very useful. So in the first step, I think we recognized that this was critical. We recognized that trade infrastructure needed to improve. We recognized that you had to get things going.
And the businessmen on both sides
had to support it. And
there was genuine need for them to also to trade. Yeah.
Correct. And that actually, when they came here in November, when Zafar came back last November, it moved forward. And that's when the clean roadmap was laid out, that Pakistan will move from a positive list to a straight negative list, and then the negative list will be phased out. And once you have that sort of a roadmap, you know exactly when MFN is coming through. I think the big change really was not merely negotiating constructively on both sides, but I think a very strong groundswell of support amongst the business communities.
Yeah. So ultimately, you would say that, can we sort of characterize this as a case where the needs of civil society, of which business is a part, eventually triumphed over the rigidities, long-standing rigidities of state actors?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I think that is that it was business-driven. I think, for me or for Zafar to say, or for us to claim that this is being driven by a political agenda or something like that would be wrong. Yeah. I think we were just trying to sort out a problem and facilitate something, and
so you just tapped into some deeply felt cumulative need, long-term need, right?
That's absolutely correct.
And now foreign investment has also been, India's promise to open up Pakistan foreign investment into India, which was also banned for forever.
Yeah. Lots of things have started happening. First, leave aside what Zafar and I were doing, ministers started coming. Their minister visited here in September, October. Our minister went there in February. First time an Indian Commerce Minister visited Pakistan in 60 years.
Does it mean, Rahul, that going forward now, Indian businesses can also go and invest there, their businesses invest here, and
people on both sides are free to invest.
yeah,
Now, naturally, this is what people in the business delegation which is
that
here,
will be a further kicker to trade.
that they want to set up their own shop. Somebody was telling me yesterday, for instance, whenever our friends from Pakistan come here, they take back kilos and kilos of Haldiram ki mithai.
So Haldiram can go and set up shop there.
In Lahore, precisely.
Lahore,
that's exactly what that's exactly what was told to me in Amritsar yesterday.
Yeah.
That you open the Atari Wagah gate and you open it for business investment. The guy who is, why should a Haldiram stop at the border?
Yeah.
He can go up, set up shop in Lahore, and he will make everybody happy. Similarly, the textile guys want to set up shop in Delhi.
Yeah, yeah. Or the Tatas can go and set up their services there.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So I think that's the window that's opening up now.
That's the window that's opening up, yeah. And Rahul, how did the political side come on board? Now, do you feel that the situation in Pakistan, the change situation, as it were, could also have sort of given a fillip to this to this big agreement between India and Pakistan?
Yeah, I think two things. First, let's give credit where it's due. At that sort of very vitally important cricket match at Mohali, when the two prime ministers met, I think both of them gave absolutely crystal clear signals on both sides that they wanted to move this.
It started there.
I think that's the source, and that political commitment came through. So when I went in April, I still remember Zafar had this very awkward moment where he was being asked questions on PTV Live that, you know, you have agreed this to all this with your counterpart, Mr. Khullar, but you know, has the army agreed? And without batting an eyelid, he straight on PTV he said, "Thank you very much. I have the authority of the highest civil authority to back me on this, and we are doing what we know to be right." The compelling nature of the business is driving it. You know, it's daft. Think about it. If you have a positive list and you permit the rest of it to be traded via Dubai, all you're doing is you're making some merchant sitting in Dubai rich at your expense.
Yes, exactly.
How is that good economics?
Yeah, yeah. And the K word has been set aside for this purpose.
Yeah, in fact, now that you say it, I can tell you I've been to Islamabad, I've been to Karachi, I've been to Lahore, and not once, I've been twice. Not once has anybody asked me anything about Kashmir, about water, about anything. Their primary concern is, and they understand, I'm coming there to talk about trade. I don't have the wherewithal to talk about other things. And I think the sense that is now coming about is, look, this is something that's moving. It is something that can get done. It is within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, yeah. So Rahul, we'll take a small break here. Please don't go away. Keep watching Rajya Sabha television. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a conversation with Commerce Secretary Rahul Khullar. Rahul, we were talking about how the unfreezing, as it were, of India-Pak trade and investment interaction has started a completely new chapter in our relations, which were in completely freeze mode all these years. Now, can you give me an idea as to what do the businessmen in Pakistan expect from India, and what sort of increase in trade that you expect to happen after all these new initiatives are fully in place? My information is that currently the official trade is of the order of some $2.5 billion, and I'm told the potential trade could be $10 billion, which probably would be more than any other bilateral trade volume that India has with other countries, many other countries. So how will this pan out?
Okay, let me get the numbers out of the way first. You're right, official trade is about $2.5 billion. Indirect trade via Dubai is estimated to be about another $3.5 to $4 billion. So roughly speaking, you're talking about anywhere between 6 to 7 billion is current trade, as is. What will happen potential, meaning I think it's 10, 15, the sky's the limit. What do Pakistani businessmen want from India? I think 2 or 3 things. One is there is a widely held perception that India has non-tariff barriers against Pakistani exports, and we need to do a lot of work to dispel these notions. We must make it easier for Pakistani businessmen to be able to access our markets, and you must let them come in both to sell and to buy, because they need to buy as well as sell. Second, there have been complaints which I received when we were in Karachi that it takes forever for goods to get cleared through customs in Mumbai. Now, these may be allegations or they may be perceptions, but the point is you live with perceptions, and until those perceptions are lifted, there will always be this cloud.
So those mindset shifts need
to change. So I think those are the big things.
And then multi-entry visa is also being considered.
The other things commercially which they need are 2. One is they need easier access in terms of business visas. Now, the business, hopefully when the Home Secretary goes up to Islamabad in May, the new visa regime will kick in. As you know, the Home Minister announced that yesterday at Atari. The second thing they need is tariff reductions, because understand that one of the major items of Pakistan's exports is textiles. And it is most definitely true that in India, our textiles sector is a protected sector, not all of it, but some parts of it, because the tariffs there are what are called mixed tariffs. There are fixed tariffs plus ad valorem tariffs, and when you get a mixture of them, those tariffs tend to build high walls. So businessmen are naturally concerned that those tariffs must come down to provide easier market access. And if it's their principal export, how can you fault them from saying
you have to give them some leeway?
Correct. Look, if you're running
also you have to ensure that the trade balance does not appear very skewed, which would then act as a negative.
I think you've hit it absolutely spot on, because the thing is that we currently have a trade exports of about 2.3 billion. They have exports of 300 million. Now, you cannot allow that sort of a situation to carry on.
Rahul, some of that could also get corrected if, for instance, some of our big businesses set up on their side and then export into our North Indian market. So
that is exactly what I have.
So that'll figure in their exports rather than
ours. And you watch that is going to happen, because willy-nilly, supposing the gates at Atari and Vaga opened and the list of tradable commodities increases.
Exactly.
I can assure you what's going to happen is yarn is going to get shipped out from Ludhiana, and it will be converted into cloth, and cloth into garments. But all that will be done on the Pakistan side, not here. So there will be industry-wide shakeouts. You're seeing it already happen in Bangladesh. The moment we gave duty-free access, companies are now going
to Bangladesh
setting up shop and exporting goods into India.
Exactly. And I think when that happens, India should actually show some generosity and not the Indian political establishment should not raise fears that businesses from here are shifting to our neighborhood.
I think we have to snap out of it. We have to give them access to the large market. It's not correct.
Yeah, I know. That's the ideal situation. But what I'm saying is when the Haldirams and the Tatas, when they actually go and set up business in Pakistan, there is a political segment in India which is prone to being xenophobic and raising issues.
Yeah, I think that we have to be careful of. But I think that
be careful of
that's correct.
That section. Pakistan was the main stumbling block in the creation of SAFTA. The larger vision, again, which Prime Minister has talked about many times, of a South Asian free trade zone. Now, do you think that now that this has been cracked, SAFTA is a reality? We could look at, say, over the next 10-15 years, something like a European economic union, European Union, that sort of a framework emerging in this part of the world?
I think let me answer that in two parts. First, I think that by the end of 2012, when Pakistan phases out its negative list, you will have a situation where Pakistan has effectively transitioned to normalization of trade relations with India, which means you will have MFN and all that is settled. The preferential trading arrangements that are in place in terms of SAFTA essentially mean what can you give each other beyond MFN.
Okay, yeah.
That is, can I reduce your duties beyond MFN duties?
Beyond what you're giving to everybody else.
Correct. Yeah. So now in a customs union, essentially what you do is you have a common tariff barrier, that MFN for the rest of the world, and zero tariffs.
Common tariffs for others.
Others and zero tariffs for yourself.
Yeah.
That can only be achieved first after you achieve MFN.
Yeah.
And then from MFN you move to gradually reducing the duties and removing all sensitive lists. Now, as you know, that for most of our South Asian neighbors, we are already there. Bangladesh has duty-free access to India.
Okay.
Nepal has it because of its agreement. Sri Lanka has it because of the free trade agreement.
Yeah.
So Pakistan was in a sense the only one that was left out. Now, by the end of the year, when you move to that, all your immediate
all the pieces will come together.
All of them fall into place.
Yeah.
Then both Zafar and I have agreed that once you move out of the negative list, then India can start thinking of much faster liberalization on the SAFTA front.
SAFTA front, okay.
And that is the what you are leading up to. That once you've got the key pieces of SAFTA together, the next phase is how do you move from MFN to almost zero or all but zero. And once you realize that, you've got the regional.
We'll discuss that in more detail, but before that, we'll take a small break. Please don't go away and keep watching Rajya Sabha television. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a very interesting conversation with Rahul Khullar, Commerce Secretary, on what we have in store for future after India and Pakistan trade are fully liberalized. Rahul, you just spoke about the SAFTA vision, which is not very far away now. Now that Pakistan has come on board, and maybe in a year or 2 years down the line, after we've fully integrated Pakistan into this trade with India and Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh already there. What sort of, say, SAFTA vision do you see in a 5-year or 10-year time frame? Do you think we can go the European Union way, economic integration, a higher level, going beyond customs union, maybe to at a later date to some common currency system too?
First, I think that over the 5-year horizon, most definitely you should be looking at mimicking a sort of customs union in South Asia.
Okay.
Now, this is not possible in a one-year horizon, as I was explaining to you, because you need first to get to MFN and then you need to move.
That's a 5-year horizon, right?
But on a 5-year horizon, you're looking at
A customs union.
a clear mimicking of a sort of customs union.
Yeah.
Second, in 5 years, you will also have built the confidence to look at issues like transit, which otherwise politically very difficult. For instance, Afghanistan is also part of South Asia,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
right, of the SAFTA agreement.
Yeah.
Now, in a 5-year horizon, you can actually think of goods transiting through Pakistan directly, Indian goods transiting directly through Pakistan and going up to Afghanistan
Yeah.
without transshipment and all that, because transit is permitted.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, in a customs union, that's exactly what happens. A truck starts from London and goes all the way to Greece.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't get stopped anywhere.
The way it would happen if a truck starts from Punjab and goes all the way to Tamil Nadu,
Exactly.
right?
So
Exactly
that-
the same way, yeah.
So in that, so those which are otherwise tricky issues,
Yeah.
meaning, and it's not only Pakistan. Meaning, I think that there are tricky issues on transit even on our eastern side.
Absolutely.
But I think at the end of the day, in a 5-year horizon, provided we can build the confidence in each other that we're actually in it, that all of us
Are in it for
our good, our collective good,
good, yeah.
then I think you will crack the political nut of dealing with transit. And I think in a 5-year horizon, that's most definitely possible.
Yeah, and so there could be a situation where after customs union, this common market, of course, is a given, and how would Rahul, issues like energy, now this SAFTA, if it comes about, it will be what will be the size of the market? It will be about 1.5 billion or 6 billion.
1.6.
So it will be one of the probably
Huge market.
it will be the biggest single regional trade arrangement. It will be bigger than ASEAN and
Much bigger than ASEAN, much bigger than EU in any case. So,
yeah.
no, I think it will be gigantic. And these are the issues we've started broaching. For instance, meaning, I can tell you, with Pakistan, we've started talking about trade in electricity, trade in petroleum. Now, petroleum is, of course, normally tradable, but electricity is non-tradable. But not.
But can these nations also come together, Rahul, and evolve some sort of common framework for production and consumption of critical resources like energy, water, because water is going to be a big issue 10 years down the line, and this subcontinent has common river water resources on which there are
huge
there are disputes. So will that be a big piece of this SAFTA vision?
The way to grapple with these problems, I think, is build the constituency that there is a common interest involved. And I think as long as you're going to continue existing in separate segregated markets, not integrating them into one whole, there will always be deep-seated suspicion about what one or the other is trying to do. On the contrary, once you establish, and this is possible only in a 5 to 10 year horizon, the culture that yes, this is our collective good, look at where we started and look at where we got to, and it's done wonders for our business, for our communities, then it is possible to even grapple with difficult matters like water, like power, like consumption of common resources.
Because once there is interdependence on energy, water, things like these resources, I think the politics will just follow, because that will become a permanent glue that will keep these nations, societies together.
I think that you're right. It ultimately must go back. Meaning, you can't, let me put it this way, if you were to try and sort out riparian differences up front, even before you sorted out simpler issues like trade, then I think that's putting the cart before the horse. I think build the constituency.
You make trade the first level of glue, and then you go for the other
then shoot for
bigger
the
bigger pieces.
That's what I would do.
Rahul, do you think once this becomes a reality, say over a 6-7 year horizon, some of these issues that you just discussed, the big vision pieces also, if they come into place, then contentious issues like, pipeline, gas pipeline running through Pakistan or Afghanistan, which was considered an impossibility some years ago, just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, given the messy politics of this region. Would those things also become a reality?
Absolutely.
Like Iran,
The Tapi pipeline,
Pakistan
absolutely.
pipeline?
Absolutely.
Or the one from Turkmenistan?
That's Tapi. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was talking
Yeah.
about. Absolutely. I think you've got it absolutely. You've got your finger on the pulse, absolutely, which is there is a logical sequence in which this has to proceed. You can't do it, snap your fingers and get it done. But I think the practical and feasible way to go about it is, let's get the trade part sorted out, let's start expanding FDI, let's start building business interests, let's start building other commonalities. Then you come to more, let's say, fractious issues, and you take them one at a time and you will be able to deal with it. My sense has always been that I think politicians are, in a sense, much better than bureaucrats at doing these sorts of things. They have a much better way of dealing with big issues, howsoever politically sensitive they are, than simple civil servants. But I think we can tend to get trapped sometime by our issues of turf or territory. But I think politicians can look beyond that, and I believe, I'm convinced that if we take this process forward, that's where we'll end up.
Yeah, and I think we probably, the ideal thing would be to reach a situation where the ISI and the Indian intelligence establishment develop a common vested interest in protecting these common resources that this region might create for itself.
I am not in the Home Ministries or the Defence Ministry, so I can't answer that one. But yeah, I think that trust begets trust, and you have to do it step by step, brick by brick. You can't do this overnight, and as long as you act in good faith, you demonstrate trust, and no cheap talk, credible commitment to actually getting the job done. I think that's what will deliver results.
So ultimately, Rahul, it seems that the old Marxian axiom is coming true, that economics is what will drive politics, I guess, over the next 10 years in this region. And thanks very much for being with us. That's all we have in this episode of State of the Economy. We'll be back again with another edition soon. Thanks for watching.